Hey life group leaders, happy 2018. We made it. Another year, a new start. It's time that it really in our culture, we really take a second and kind of hit the reset button, right? It's about resolutions, it's about reprioritizing, it's about really reassessing what's important to us and what we're going to strive for in 2018. And so as you guys are thinking through the new year, and we're already into it, so I know many of you have already done this, I want to encourage you guys, you have done a marvelous job leading your groups. Some of you, I have heard from people in your groups that their lives have been changed by the things that they've walked through, that they've learned and received, and God has just used your groups in many ways. So I want to encourage you with one quick thing, and that is I preached last Sunday, somebody came up and said something about like, oh, thank you so much for the sermon. It feels, and I'm trying to remember exactly what they said, but essentially something along the lines of like, it was really powerful, like way more than, a conversation. The truth was just so vivid and direct. And I was thinking about it, and one of the things I really want to encourage you guys to is that I think too often in church world, preaching is elevated above discipleship, and the meat and potatoes of everyday life discipleship, gathering in circles instead of rows, doing life together is so incredibly important. That's where the life change happens. Yes, preaching has its role, but what you do in leading others and applying the truths to their lives directly in the situations they're facing is invaluable. And so for some of you, I know it just can seem like a slug, like they're not changing, why do I have the craziest group imaginable? Like, know that your efforts, God is blessing them and people are changing. And one of the really profound things about change, even outside of the church, is that what people need to do to change, studies show, is that you need new information, you need to apply that information, and then you need to assess how you applied it. And so what life groups do, what you do through your leadership, through asking the questions, through going through the material, through meeting with people, through opening up your house, all that you do, you allow this process of change to happen. Because as new information comes in on Sunday and throughout the week, as they begin to apply it in their family, in their marriage, in their work setting, in their school, the life groups help, the discipleship relationships help so much with this ability to process, to reassess. Okay, why didn't that work? Why did they respond this way? Why am I feeling this way? There's this back and forth that happens in groups that's absolutely invaluable. So thank you guys so much for what you do. And as you're leading, one of the important things to consider as we enter into the new year is self-care, and leadership begins with self-leadership. And so I would encourage you in these moments to focus on, okay, not just am I leading my group, am I getting things done at work, but am I developing myself? Am I becoming a holistic disciple of Jesus that honors him in the everyday stuff of life? And so a couple of practical things I'd give you to think about. I know everyone does kind of their own things in the new year. Some people will pick a theme for the year. For some of the folks I've talked about, themes range from things like renewal or rest to focus or patience or things of that nature. Maybe you need to create some goals. In self-development, it's helpful to have an objective so you know where you're aiming. And when it comes to goals, one of the things that the experts say that I think is really important is, there's all these different talks about goals being manageable, being applicable, being measurable, SMART goals. If you're not familiar with that, I'd encourage you to look that up. But what I'd encourage as well is that when it comes into the new year, some people set really easy goals where it's like, done, it's very comfortable. Some people set goals that are right challenging, like, okay, that's something that's doable, but it's actually gonna push me. And some people, in fact, I would argue most people set goals that are just delusional, right? Like, oh, this is good, and it's like, maybe bring it down, hit that middle ground where it's not easy and comfortable, but it's not delusional and out of reach, where it's challenging and you're actually gonna change. So goals for your marriage, for your family, for your finances, your work, and your health. And then, it's called resolutions in the new year. And I was thinking about this for some of you who are familiar with church history. Jonathan Edwards is a young man. I believe he was only somewhere in his teens, 17, 18 years old. He wrote out these resolutions. I think there's 20 of them. That he basically adhered to his whole life, and they're powerful, especially for such a young man to have such foresight and thinking about what he's going to do and how he's going to run his life. He said things like, resolve to never do anything which I would be afraid to do if it were the last hour of my life. Resolve never to waste one moment of the precious time God has given me. And this is a guy who became probably America's greatest theologian. And so, anyways, things to think about as you guys plan for your new year. As always, we love you. Be sure to be using Right Now Media. It's a great resource. Also, if you haven't, we'll include some links to videos that explain Planning Center to you so that you can get your groups up to date for the new year. And we'll go ahead and bring that online here pretty soon. I'll have more information for you about that in the coming weeks. As always, we love you guys. We will see you on Sunday.